Welcome, everybody, to our conversation today. Thanks for being here. And we have a lot of people filing in at the moment. And so we have a poll question that we are going to launch up immediately. And so as you're joining here and hearing my voice, look for the poll question that has popped up on your screen. And we'd love to engage with you, get some feedback, learn a little about those in attendance today for our conversation on estate planning with Encore and with fpPathfinder. And so if you could start answering those questions, that would be awesome. And then we'll share the results here. I think if they may come up live, or we'll share them here in a second. But would love to hear what your biggest financial planning hurdle is of those choices, and what's the biggest hurdle with getting those clients to get the estate plan documents in place and keep them up to date, which is a big part of what you're going to hear today from a power user in Katie Noles of both Encore and fpPathfinder. And so as you're answering those questions, and maybe Michael I'll throw it over to you here in a second. I'll introduce myself. My name is Matt Morris. I'm the CEO of EncorEstate Plans. And we're a unique platform that has been created, like many other software capabilities, that take high quality attorney created will and trust templates and provide a questionnaire that enables someone to answer the questions related to creating their own trust or will based estate plan, and then populates that with some good quality human review. And we've offered that as a service through advisors only. We're not a B2C company. We only work with advisors. And our goal really here is, how do we fix this problem of a procrastination around estate planning? 67% of Americans don't have an estate plan. Millions have one, and it's out of date. And so how do we help to ensure existing plans get updated when it's appropriate? And how do we help your clients get their documents created? And how do we help you become the estate planning a hero and be a new opportunity as a solution for your clients? And also, without crossing over that role as an advisor that doesn't allow you to practice law, and which is an important component here as you give good education to your clients in helping them to get these documents created, those who aren't running to the estate planning referral attorneys you've been working with. And so that's Encore in a quick nutshell. And I'm going to pass it over to Michael to introduce and give a quick overview for a minute here or two of fpPathfinder before we jump into letting you all hear from Katie.
Yeah, great. Matt, thanks so much. I'm Michael LaCour. I'm a financial advisor and co-founder of fpPathfinder. And we make checklists, flowcharts, and summary guides to help you educate your clients and to have better planning conversations. And so the way that really shows up is that advisors are using us in a couple of different ways. And actually, all of the ways that we see it all gets encapsulated with how Katie's going to be showing how she uses these tools. But some advisors, they're just using our guides to help educate clients in a meeting. They're using it, they're showing one of our guides to walk through it with a client. They're opening up new conversations beyond just conversations about investments or investment performance. Like, they want to get into something else. They want to expand that client relationship and show value in different ways. But what's really cool is there's a large group of advisors that are looking to scale their financial planning efforts. And they're using our guides as touch points in something like a client service calendar or a flywheel, or the way that Katie's going to be showing us how she uses fpPathfinder with her work and clients. So I can show examples over here, but I got a sneak peek as to what Katie's going to be showing over here. And she's covering all of it over here. So I'm going to want to turn this over to Katie and let her jump in and show what she's doing.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at these poll results. Staff, time, cost, lack of staff. Wow, worried about unauthorized. Well, we're going to cover all of that today. So hopefully you guys will get a chance to get a glimpse of what it is that I do. And I am going to start and share my screen really quickly.
And Katie, as you're doing that, I'll mention too, Q&A. We'd love to hear from you in the Q&A box. Chat sometimes gets tricky to follow as we go. If you have questions that while Katie's speaking, fpPathfinder can answer, we'll answer them there. As we hear good questions for Katie, we'll try to implement them, and maybe as we finish up, leave some time for the Q&A. So feel free to jump in there. If you have a question, you're probably not the only one, and great for everybody to be able to see the dialogue there. Got your screen, Katie? Take it away.
I got a screen. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit all about myself. Then we'll get to the cool stuff, a rundown of my process. And hopefully you'll find this engaging. Good news for you, I'm not monotone, so that's always exciting. That's a plus. And hopefully you can also avoid, navigating over your email halfway through this and checking your promotional content. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today. It's jam-packed, so please don't worry about screenshots or taking notes. You'll get access to the presentation and the materials. Just sit back and try and absorb as much as you can today. All right, so I am a certified estate planner, former advisor. I'm working towards my master certified estate planner designation, which is a really fancy way to say I am a nerd and I love estate planning. As a former advisor, I have a firm grasp on what it is that you all do, what's required of you on the day-to-day, and I know that you're busy. And again, I'm trying to cover a lot today, so please just try and listen and absorb what you can. I am an industry consultant. I primarily did the estate planning for the advisors at my former firm, and then realized there was a need for this. There needed to be someone here helping people and helping them implement these services. So that's what I do now at AEP. And let's go back over here really quickly. Sorry, y'all, I'm jumping. I scrolled. Here we go. I don't want to miss anything. Okay. So for those of you unfamiliar with us, we have two different branches. We have consulting services, and then we also offer a white glove estate planning approach. So we either do the estate plans for you or we help you implement the services. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is how to implement these services. And I think the biggest claim to fame we have is reducing the time in the implementation process and the cost associated with it. And I'm really just here to support you all. So if you, again, have questions, toss them in the chat and then we'll get to them. When we talk about estate planning, I think it's important to remember that the industry is evolving, and we do a lot towards kind of revving up our value proposition for clients and what we actually bring to the table. And clients are craving this convenience, the expertise that you bring to the table, and really excellent, clear-cut communications between themselves and the advisor. So with all that being said, how do you take on more? How do you offer estate planning and not let any of these other areas sacrifice or skimp on your level of service, that overall advice that you're giving? You still want it to be top-notch. And I think having the right tools and workflows in place is what's going to get you there. So the right tech stack is going to help alleviate some of those pain points, which is overextending yourself or your staff or compromising that client experience. And the workflows that we're going to talk about today, making sure that you have the right processes, the standard operating procedures in place, that's going to make sure that the client experience and the level of service isn't sacrificed or suffering. Good news for you, neither fpPathfinder nor Encore has a lengthy implementation process. That is a huge bonus. And we'll get into that in just a little bit about the actual implementation process. I want to touch basis on the amount of advisors that are actually trying to implement estate planning right now, because it is mind-blowing. So if from the T3 survey, I'm not sure how familiar many of you are with that. Hopefully a lot of you. You can see the adoption rate of new services and platforms and what the future is, so the projections are for certain firms. And from the T3 survey, we saw a huge shift in estate planning. Estimates vary. There's between 270, 350,000 advisors in the United States. So let's just say 300,000 for a round number. With the T3 numbers put into context, that means that over 100,000 advisors are trying to implement estate planning services or have done so. By doing what I'm telling you today, you're going to skip to the front of the line. And that's important, because a recent survey from Think Advisors suggests that our numbers on how many Americans actually have estate plans, adults, is closer to 27%. The good news is that that survey, or the respondents from that survey, also said that if the ones that had a financial advisor were twice as likely to implement an estate plan if their financial advisor suggested it. That's pretty significant. That's the sway and the weight that they put in the advice that you give. And that's why I think you shouldn't be afraid to talk about estate planning. So we have two paths, as I mentioned. One is outsourcing. If you're interested in that, after this, we have a webinar next week. Victor and the guys from Encore are going to drop that in the chat at some point today. So if you're interested in joining and hearing about an outsourced option, please do. Just know that even with that outsourced option, I'm still using these tools that we're going to talk about today. So it's worth it to tune in. And then the DIY, the advisor-driven model, where you're facilitating the process. That's what we're focusing on here. I'm going to skip over this one just for time. Again, we're going to talk about the outsourcing model next week. If anything, no matter which way you choose, no matter which way you decide to go, if you're trying to implement this yourself, you're going to find that, or with someone else, helping your clients obtain the comprehensive estate plan that you get through Encore is the biggest reward. Obviously, that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that clients' estate plans and financial plans are talking to each other, because that is comprehensive planning. One without the other is not comprehensive planning. But you're also uncovering new opportunities with your current clients. And we're going to touch later on current clients and why I keep saying current clients throughout this, because that's where I want you to start. That's the key to success. The other bonus is that from this, you are generating revenue because you're going to uncover new opportunities or missed opportunities. And when I say missed, I'm not talking about you missed something in particular. It might be something that's unknown, because we're also discovering the assets that are held away. There are a couple of tools throughout the process that you can use to do that, and we'll cover those. But on the back side of this, more so than the actual implementation of the plan and you finding the opportunity, there's a whole nother generation to think about. And maintaining these generational assets is going to be a massive benefit for you and anybody who has an idea of potentially selling your book of business in the future. If you have those strengthened client bonds and you have those retention rates at that point of sale, I think that you're going to find a much better experience, or I think a better purchase, if that makes sense. Am I making sense, Matt? Good.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to start here with the right tools. So money, money, money. Before you spend it, ask the tough questions. Are you on DIY method, Matt? Or are you on, what does your slide say? Hey guys, sorry for a second.
Yep. DIY method.
Okay. All right. So Encore and fpPathfinder are definitely intuitive. They both have the best support systems possible. I really can't say enough about the level of support that I get from them. When I have a question, I get the right answer. I recently had an experience where I sent in something to a chat support. This was with a different service. And I got an article back that I had already read that didn't answer my question. So I chatted again and I got the same article back. That's so frustrating. So having a great support system is definitely important. All right. Implementing new services. So implementing new services is no small feat. I do understand that. I was telling them earlier, when I switched our financial planning software, I think I lost 5 pounds and a ton of hair. So I can relate to what you all are going to, and I definitely understand your woes. But with these workflows that we're talking about, I think you'll find that it's going to simplify the process. All right. So money, money, money. Sorry, I had my slides flipped earlier, guys. I apologize for that. Before you spend it, I would encourage you to start asking the tough questions and consider your client's perspective. Is this something that's going to be intuitive for them to use as well? Not only you, and both of these platforms are. Do the fees seem reasonable, or do they seem absurd? And does it feel overly complicated? If systems are complicated enough already, don't add to that. Don't compound that. And if it's client facing, will a wide variety of users be able to use it? More so than intuitive, would an older client and a younger client be able to use it? And are you going to have some sort of cross branding across it, so it feels safe and secure when the clients go to it? And both of these platforms offer that branding option, so clients get that sense of connection and they feel more comfortable entering their information and clicking that link. Let's start by talking about your current client list and putting the pedal to the metal. First, Redtail users, we have workflows on our website. It's basically the shortcut to this entire method that I'm talking about today with all the links that we're going to cover. And these are designed for different levels. So some of these you're going to want to pare down. They've got a ton of information in them. So you might want to shorten them overall. And that's something that if you have questions about, chatting about later, I'm happy to help you or talk about what they can bring to the table. They also include helpful links to the knowledge base articles within Encore that are going to take you right to whatever you should be reading at that particular point in time. So if you're on step 3, it's going to take you to everything you know about step 3 from Encore's user knowledge base. There are 3 things in there in particular that I would pay attention to if I were you, other than just like the basic how-tos. The article on your left, EncorEstate Plans and fpPathfinder email templates, that actually has 2 free checklists from FP in it and sample emails. The third is the onboarding and implementation checklist, and that's going to have a lot of what we're talking about today, more broken out into a detailed format and a checklist format. So depending upon your user type, if you're a team or an individual, you'll find helpful resources there that can help get your team through it. And then the third one is an article about how to implement the workflows that you can get from AEP. So skip to that front of the line. We talked about it. There's 100,000 people in line. Skip it. I've done the hard work. I've found the needles in the haystack. And I think if you guys can hang with me and do what I'm telling you today, you're going to save a lot of time and headache. You're not reinventing the wheel. And we're going to do it by starting off with your current client base. The Encore platform brings to the table a couple of important things that I want to review. One is the system. We've mentioned it is intuitive, but in the system, it has a tip for every single thing that you view. So if you're walking through clients with this, it really is intuitive and you can get a good grasp of the information just by reading the tips. So they don't have a gargantuan subscription fee either. I think if a subscription fee costs as much as a semester to my alma mater, that's a problem. And I'm just not going to pay for that if I don't have to. And I don't think you guys should either. And I don't like the concept of ongoing subscription fees for clients either. You can see a couple of the other easy ones up here, easy to use. They're advisor first. We're going to touch base on that later. And cost effective. So one of the other things about Encore that sets them apart from other platforms, and the reason why we stick with them is because they're advisor first. And that still applies to me today. Even though I'm a former advisor, I still wouldn't want these things transpiring. So they're never going to refer your clients to somebody else. They're never going to contact your client, and they're never going to leave you out of the loop. That's a big thing for me. The plan price is reasonable. The subscription fees, if you choose to go the subscription route, it's reasonable. But the costs associated with the ancillary options to customize the plan, and take that into consideration. Some of these platforms, you can't customize the plan. So we're customizing the plan, and any ancillary fees, which most times customizations don't really require a fee. That would be like an optional business assignment or something like that. It's doable in here and it's affordable, and that's huge. Their pay-as-you-go element and the fact that the account is free is also another one. You guys could open an account faster than I could get through the next 2 slides. I mean, it's really very easy. And the setup process with them is quick. Even setting up an entire team is going to take you like a half a day. And that's customizing your landing page and setting up your billing. Very, very easy. Their element of human review, a lot of platforms do not have this element of human review. And this is huge. So with the human review, what I'm talking about is when you chat into their support, or if you email support, yeah, you're getting an answer back. But beyond that, once the plan is submitted, it goes through a lengthy review process. And if there's anything in there, a red flag or a question or something that seems too vague, too gray, they're going to reach out to you and they're going to contact you. So you're not going to have issues like I've seen on other platforms where somebody puts through a child as the successor trustee when the kid is 4. we're going to be able to avoid those things by having that element of human review. So if you're new, or if you know we're humans, we make mistakes. Sometimes dates of births get entered wrong. They're going to help you catch that sort of stuff. White glove deed services. This is another one. Some platforms don't offer deed services. Encore does. How do I put this? I don't know about you, but I don't ever want to have to tell a client, hey, you need to go stand in line at this county office, and I'm going to need you to record this deed for me, or try and figure out how all of these different counties work. Encore's already got all of that in place, and their price for the deed includes the preparation and the recording of the deed itself and researching the deed as well. So all of that's taken care of. It's all in that price, which is super transparent. If your clients have a question with Encore, what makes those tips, I mentioned them earlier, such a great thing, you can actually hover over that little question bar in the tip and just copy and paste it and send it right back to your client. You're not giving any specific advice. For those of you that chatted in about UPL, please know we're going to cover that in just a little bit. So, but this is one of the ways that Encore is protecting the advisor, is that you're not coming up with the responses. They're giving you the responses. You're using the tips. You're using the client-facing resources. And I think that goes a long way for this. Let's see. All right, fpPathfinder. So again, super easy to set up. Their demo video is really helpful. I mean, really helpful. Truly watch their demo video and you will figure this out. You got it. Once you get set up with them, which takes a few minutes, you could be using fpPathfinder in your next meeting today. If you left our webinar today, set up an account, you could easily figure out how to use it before your next meeting. It is so simple. Their subscription levels are also reasonably priced. If you're wondering which one I use their Premier. It's $499 annually. And the reason why I chose that particularly is because it syncs with my CRM. I know we have a lot of fpPathfinder users in here already, but if you're not using the features that will help you, or if you're not on that subscription with a feature that syncs to your CRM, you really might want to consider that. And I think you'll see why as we move through this today. So I know what an hour of my time is worth, and I'm sure that you know what an hour of your time is worth. And that's one of the reasons why when people ask me about FP, I say it pays for itself, because for me to make anything that looked half as good as theirs would take me way more than an hour. I think you'll see why. So what poor person deserves this visual torture? This is what my buckets, my handwriting looks like. And I can tell you after 3 o'clock, it only goes downhill from there. It doesn't get any better. This is like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So if you're the type of advisor that is scribbling hand-drawn diagrams or buckets, manually entering estate plan summaries, please stop it. You're a Pablo Picasso, probably. You're not Leonardo da Vinci. And I think that clients would much more prefer to see these nice PDFs. The top one is the visual estate plan summary from Encore. Here in the back is the one of the charts, one of the guides from FP. These are super nice. My branding is on the one in the back. And again, that's so easy to set up. All right. I am going to show you guys this particular questionnaire interactive checklist several times because it's what we use a lot. So what should I consider before updating my estate plan? This is generally what I'm sending clients after they go through our electronic, I call it our electronic path. So one of the things that I like about this is when I open this up in front of clients, if we're doing it in the office or if they're doing it from home, they're saying, oh my gosh, that looks so nice. And when it's finished, they're saying, wow, can I have a copy of this? I mean, when is the last time that someone said, all you have to do is pick what you want, attach a client and press send. We're going to do the rest. That's that CRM feature where it's actually uploading all of this information for me in the CRM. And in my last random audit with my compliance department, they wrote me back and they said, oh my gosh, Katie, your notes are so great. And honestly, I've always been a good note taker, but as you could see, I can never read them because of fpPathfinder. It's all being uploaded to the system for me, which is fantastic. This is my process in a nutshell. It takes about 4 weeks for me to get a client through. We're going to start right here in week 1. And now we're getting into the nitty gritty, guys. Now you know why I'm using these 2 companies. And now you know a little bit about AEP, kind of the differences between it. And now we're going to go into this DIY method. All right, so the right contacts, we touched base on this. We're talking about your current client list. I've got these in my toolkit. I'm talking about my CRM right now. I personally use Redtail, and I am running a report in Redtail, and I'm solving for a couple of different things. One, I want to know what is the age demographic that I need to target, and then two, when were they last seen? So I would suggest looking and targeting clients in their potentially 60s to start with. Generally, clients in their 50s and 60s have aging parents, and they're already thinking about, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How is this going to transpire or unfold? And then clients in their 70s have probably already heard the tales of estate planning disasters, and they're going to be more likely to listen to this. And frankly, these are the generations that we need to be discussing these matters with. So if you haven't seen them in the last 6 months, this is a great reason to do that. And why are we starting with our current clients? It's exactly what's on this screen. They trust you. You're not simultaneously trying to explain your firm's value proposition, the process, and your services. You've already done all that. This is a great, easy approach to it. This is a nice soft entry into it. You already have most of their information from all those great notes that you're putting in the CRM. And then the individuals fulfilling the roles. If these are your clients already, you know that you like that client type. So whoever they're putting in the roles, or whoever's fulfilling the roles of the estate plan, that's probably your target client. That's probably your next qualified lead or prospect. And it's free. You're not paying for it. You're not doing any prospecting or lead gen paid for services. It's paying for itself. And there's no marketing. I mean, there's no marketing with this, at least not with my system. So you're not spending dollars on that either. So the electronic process is an email. You can go about this one of two ways. Which we'll talk about in meeting, but we're going to start off with email. So we tried all different types of emails. Please listen to me. Please absorb this. Don't waste your time. Please listen. We tried sales. We tried discounts. We tried marketing. We tried it all to get clients to move. This is what works. And it is this, we need a critical, important, integral, however you want to word it. We need information on you. The briefer we kept the email, the better it was. And, a lot of times, let me grab it. A lot of times our admins were actually kind of tweaking this, making it sound like their own, which is totally fine. That's what you want it to feel like. You want it to feel authentic, not canned. And in reality, people are saying, well, gosh, I don't know if I can talk about estate planning. Here's your answer. You can, and you should, because you need these answers. You need them. You need to know these things. If you do not have the answers, do you or do you not have an estate plan is what this is asking. It's one question. Client response back, yes or no. You already know a ton more than you did. If they say yes, great. We need to see a copy. Why do you need to see a copy? You need to double check your account ownership and beneficiary designations. These two plans should be working in tandem. They should be correlated with one another. And that's your job as the advisor, is that funding aspect. So whether or not you choose to implement estate planning services, you should still be asking these questions, and it is okay to do so. If the client responds with excuses during your meetings, so we've talked about the email option. It's super simple email. I can send you guys a copy of that at the end if you'd like it, or it's in the workflows that we have on AEP's site. You can grab it there. When clients respond, oh, I can't, or I don't, or I didn't do this, any of the excuses that they give us, and you know that they give us excuses, remember this, you're their advisor, so advise them. There is nothing wrong with pointing out the glaringly obvious fact that they need an estate plan. And there's some really easy points and factors that you can grab off of Encore's knowledge base. There's a great comparison table so they can see what they're actually getting from this estate plan. If they're business owners, there's an article on that, and you can put a great client-facing resource right in front of them that explains why, as a business owner, this is so important, and it could be detrimental to their operations if they don't have an estate plan. So for clients responding, no, I don't have an estate plan, I am using the checklist. what should I consider before I create my estate plan? For clients that do, I'm sending, what should I consider before I update my estate plan? Both are super simple. You're just toggling questions on and off. If I know the client doesn't have children, I might toggle those questions off. But either way, they're seeing what I want them to see, which is this nice, clear, clean information. It's branded. As I mentioned, you can actually custom white label your landing pages with both of these platforms, which is great. So let's see. Remember that. Okay. In the responses, I leave them as they are to the default, which is dividing them by yes and no questions, or excuse me, responses. So this is what I got back from the client. She said yes to these things. And from that, I'm getting some useful information. And that's the considerations. So from the considerations, now these are emailed to you. You can download them into a PDF format, or you can access them, and I'll show you this on the next page, from your CRM. So I just think the level of organization to this is really helpful when you're dealing with clients. Again, y'all, I can't read my handwriting. I can't read half these Post-its on my desk. I need as much help as I can get with making stuff look clear and clean for clients. And I'm not sure, but if anybody picked up on this blue arrow up here, it's because it does something really cool. Not the arrow itself, but fpPathfinder. These are the considerations that are going into my CRM right on the dashboard of Redtail. And from here, I can actually delegate these things out. I can push tasks to other people or create appointments from here, but it's stored in my client notes at this point. So now I've sent the client out a PDF that I have a copy of that I can bring up in a meeting. I've got my considerations in my notes. I know what I'm going to talk to the client about in my next meeting. I don't need to prepare an agenda. I know exactly what I'm going to do, and it's right there. This is one of the benefits of that subscription, where it actually works with your CRM. I'm going to go ahead. We've talked about a lot of this, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and skip this page. All right. I brought this one up because I had a weird thought when I was doing this, and it was the, like, I wanted to kick myself moment when I first found out about fpPathfinder and realized how I could use it in correlation with estate planning. And I wanted to know, like, what if my friends are using this that they didn't tell me about this? Why did they keep this from me? Because it would have made my life so much easier. And it truly does. It really does. Clients, if you've got a question, they have questionnaires. They have so many different guides. They've got a guide on just about anything. So if you are in a meeting with a client and you're trying to figure out what to talk about, or if you've got a random question, that's a great place to start. Look there. I love, love, love the variety of guides. For everybody who was asking about or concerned about UPL, this is going to be for you. So Encore protects the advisor, and they do that in a couple of different ways. So from a process perspective, so we're in this initial phase. We've started contacting clients. We've done our CRM research. We've got our emails going out. We know we're working with our current clients. We're finding out if they've got an estate plan, and we've got those considerations in right now. So now the next step is actually talking to your client. But before you talk to the client, I want to talk about how we're protected, or how you're protected. So you're not drafting documents. You're not expected to, nor should you ever give legal advice. And you're using the client-facing resources that Encore has. So you're not even preparing the resources. You're just white labeling them. You're just putting your logo on them. You're just putting that footer or header. Their support team is going to answer questions that you have on the planning process itself. So if a client is asking a question that you don't know the answer to, a general answer, you can always refer back to Encore. But again, both of these guys, or both these platforms, have amazing knowledge bases. So I would suggest looking there. They really are pretty easy to use. And Encore has disqualifying questions. So immediately, if the client is disqualified, you're going to know. And that's okay. You know, if they're looking to disinherit their children, or if they're over those federal estate tax exemption limits, if they have an issue with diminished capacity, and if they're giving money to non-family caregivers, these are some things that are going to weed them out immediately. These are the top disqualifying reasons why you should not take on an estate plan. And that's okay. Saying no to some plans is absolutely fine. You're going to have to do it. While Encore is a great fit for, 85, 90% of your clients, there's those 10, that 10% that it's just not going to be a good fit for. And again, that's okay. So the assistance disclosure template is another one that I really like to use. I'm going to show you all that in a little bit. The client is confirming their responses in the system. So they're confirming that these are their entries. They're 100% accurate, and they have an optional attorney review. All right, let's go here. So these are those considerations that we've gone over. And I'm going to talk a little bit about client pushback. So there are 3 things that really stand out to me when you're in this meeting with a client. So you're saying, client, hey, you've identified these considerations. Now we know you need an estate plan. What should we do? And the client says, oh, well, I'll think about it later. I can't get to it. This is my gift to you today. Please, please look at these. If they lack a financial power of attorney, a trusted contact is not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. That's an easy way for you to say, hey, look, if you want to work with me, even during a state of incapacitation, if you want your accounts to still function, if you want me to still be able to manage them and do a great job, I need somebody that I can work with. And right now, I don't have that. If they have a modest amount of assets and own their own home, hey, I want to make sure that you spend as little in taxes as possible. And that includes your estate. I want to make sure that your heirs don't get hit with hefty administration costs. This is it. And owning property in multiple states, who wants to go through probate in 2 states? That's crazy. These are all super valid reasons that you can easily point out. If they don't like it from there, consider a value add. There's lots of different things that you can do through the process. Offer a powers package to adult children. Give their parents a discount. Or offer to do a follow-up meeting with successor trustees. And there's a kit for that one as well, which is really cool. But more so, use the resources. If it's just that they don't know what they want, there's a quiz for that. If it's because they can't visualize the difference between a will and a trust, there's a table for that. That assistance disclosure that we went back, or we're going to go back to UPL for just a quick second. This is something that you should have every client fill out. So at this point, let's say they've used the quiz, they know what they want, and now you're ready to move forward because you use those no-brainer, you can't give me an excuse lines. They filled out their assistance disclosure and they're signing it. We're doing this for a couple of reasons. One, we're going over what they're going to be charged, what they're going to be receiving, and what each party will be responsible for, but more so, who are the parties involved? So you're already being super transparent and people know exactly what they're getting. There are a couple of different worksheets for time. I'm going to skip over this. If you guys want to know more about the worksheets, please come back to me. So everybody knows what they want. We've now gone into the trust-based questionnaire and the client has entered their responses. You are gathering so much client data right now. That's one of the benefits of estate planning. You are giving your clients a wonderful experience, but you're also getting all this great, relevant, useful information on them, and you're going to make your life so much easier in the end. The client confirmation that we talked about earlier, this is what that image looks like. Again, this is great. Clients are confirming that these are their responses. They are accurate. There's a time and a date stamp on it. This is not you dictating what information goes in. These are the client's responses. So this is the end of the process. You've got the questionnaire in, you've submitted it, you've checked out with Encore. And here's my timeline again. Here's where we are, this data collection and entry phase. So we've entered the plan, we've done the review. From Exhibit A, we talked about free prospecting and free leads. From Exhibit A and the TPP and the people fulfilling the roles in the actual estate plan, this is where all these great ancillary, not ancillary, but these great benefits, bonuses come in. So if you're looking for prospects, look and see who is in their tangible personal property list. Who are they giving gifts to? Who are the relationships in their life? Ask, say, can you tell me about so-and-so? That's interesting. That person sounds neat. Tell me who these people are. And from Exhibit A, this is the big one. We're finding out what assets are held away. Clients are way, way less hesitant to give you the information and truly show you what it is that they have. You're going to find out about any potential inheritances. You're going to find out about additional real estate, bank accounts, businesses. This is where you get down and get dirty and you find out all the stuff that you've always wanted to find out. And from those assets held away, we're identifying these new opportunities. So what's happening behind the scenes? Now you've got all this great information. Well, we're using that great information to go ahead and update their financial plan. Once you identify the accounts that you manage, you're going to know whether or not you need any beneficiary ownership updates. You're doing that behind the scenes. They're going to sign that paperwork at their signing. and you're going to start gathering that paperwork. Again, it's that one-stop shopping. If they're there and they're signing their estate plan, why not go ahead and sign this other stuff? Make it as easy as possible. If you have not finished Exhibit A yet with filling in the account information that you manage, this is a great time to do it. Make it as easy as possible for them. And if they're stuck on something, pick up the phone, have your admin pick up the phone, get them through it, give them 5 or 10 minutes of your time. But whatever you do, don't let them push it off for another appointment. Don't let them reschedule. Check in the day before and keep the ball rolling, because every time you push it off 2 weeks, it becomes less and less interesting to them. And you run the risk of not gathering that information, generating that revenue, and finding those new opportunities and those prospects. These are the 2 areas that I mentioned that you could find prospects from, who's fulfilling the roles and who's listed on this tangible personal property list. And now I want to talk about pricing. This is kind of the big thing. So you've got everybody through, you found your opportunities, you've strengthened your client bonds, you now know who the beneficiaries are, and you can start to maybe contact work with them. But how do you pay? And that really depends on your type, or how do you charge? That really depends on your type of firm. So are you fee-based, or are you a fee-only firm? And I think I would suggest starting with a base fee. And again, you'll get all of this, guys. I'm going to just fly through this really quick. So about 1 to 6 hours of your time is the ballpark of doing different plan types. An hour for a Powers package is more than generous. A Powers package will take you 10 minutes to do with somebody. About 3 hours for a will-based plan, maybe 4 to 6 hours for a trust-based plan. And that includes your admin's time as well. I'm not saying this is how much time you personally are going to spend on this, but that's everything. That includes the signing and the funding instructions. You're going to find that once you have a system, it's going to go pretty quick. But that plus the actual cost of the plan is what I would suggest using to determine your in cost, or that base fee, I should say. So you know how much the plan is, you know how much time it's going to take you to do it, or a ballpark. And now you need to figure out from that Exhibit A, what assets do they have? Do they have additional properties or businesses? And do we need to do any business assignments, mortgage assignments, any additional deed work? Add all of that up and include those costs to get your end plan cost for the client. I think a lot of people get wrapped up in, well, what are the local attorneys charging? I mean, like, while I would not charge more than them, I also wouldn't worry so much about what they charge. I think it's important to figure out what your time is worth and what the cost of the plan is, and give the client the best price possible. These are the last few slides. So after this, what if the client chooses or needs a local attorney? We touched on this earlier. That's okay. That's fine. When in doubt, refer it out. There's a saying for a reason. Not every client is going to be a great fit for this. Most of your clients will be, but not every client. And then best practices. I mentioned a few of these earlier as well. Set up all of your meetings in advance. Don't book them one at a time. I like to put clients on a set schedule. If I know Wednesdays at 11 are good for them, I have 4 Wednesdays at 11 booked out for them. And then walking your client through the questionnaire versus having them do it themselves. And I'm not talking about fpPathfinder's questionnaires. I'm talking specifically about Encore's. That one requires a little bit more assistance. It's a little bit more knowledge, thought-provoking. It's doing your homework in school versus at home. If you have your teacher's help and they're sitting right there, you're way more likely to get it done than you are at home. It's a crash course. If you have questions, please let me know. I know we covered so much, but that's it in a nutshell.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We've been getting a lot of really cool comments over here. So let me just try to encapsulate this here. When you're working with a prospect or a client and you have identified that, hey, they don't have a plan, or maybe it's an outdated plan, you're sending them an interactive fpPathfinder checklist that they complete prior to having an in-depth conversation. The client completes that on their own, sends it, and then the information flows into your CRM. It looked like you had Redtail over there. Mm-hmm. You use that to are you starting to pre-populate some of the Encore questionnaires? How does the information there get into, how do you make that handoff between like some of that information from fpPathfinder to then Encore?
So one, with this, I think what I'm looking for more so are those considerations. So I want to go ahead and have somebody else. I want the client to do it for me. If the client is using those yes, no questions and getting those yeses back with the considerations, they're already identifying the issues that they have. I'm not doing it. They're doing it for themselves. I'm merely sitting down as their advisor, or was when a former advisor, saying, these are the highlights here. Let's talk about each of these considerations and let's talk about ways that we can mitigate that. And no matter what it is, we keep coming back to the fact that you need an estate plan. We've got to get this done. You need to get this done. You know, moderate amount of assets, homeowner, we need to get this done. So from there, then we're going into the Encore questionnaire, but that's already warmed me up and I'm not selling anything at that point. In estate plans, I think it's a disservice to think about it as selling something to your client. We're trying to get them to buy or purchase something. You are doing something for them. You're giving them advice and you're identifying issue, a problem. That's what they are asking you to do. They want you to do that. They're paying you to do that, to identify the issue and the problem. And the problem that you happen to be identifying at that particular moment is that they don't have an estate plan. There's nothing wrong with that. You can absolutely have this conversation with a client.
Got it. So you send the questionnaire out from fpPathfinder, where we ask different questions, and then within that, there's these consideration phases. So if you said yes to this question, consider X, Y, or Z, you're helping to streamline that so that you can have one planning conversation where you're going in depth based on those answers from that interactive question. And then after that, then maybe you're making a determination about what kind of EncorEstate package you need. Is that accurate now?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay.
So use the considerations to begin the conversation. The client's going to realize, oh, I've got some problems. And from there, then it's looking at what are the different, like what types of assets do you have? Are we talking will-based or trust-based? And from that, I'm putting a comparison table in front of them. There's a great comparison chart on there that's just super simple to look at. It's really, really simple. And that quiz is actually really helpful. Do I need a trust or will? That's on Encore's knowledge base as well.
And are you doing that on your own, or are you having the clients do that?
It depends. So if they are using, so if this is somebody coming through AEP, we have some interactive quizzes built out, or that quiz particularly is put into an interactive format. So it's actually web-based. So they're doing it before they see us, or they might be doing it in a remote meeting. Guys, 99.9% of what we do is remote. And we've got to be able to have things ready on the fly. So I guess, let me think about the best way to answer that, Michael. So using the considerations and then going into Encore's, using the questionnaire, how would you, I don't know how else to better word that.
Yeah, no, I think I get it. And,
okay, good.
And there's Kevin's got a comment here. For Katie, her personal preference is to send out that interactive checklist, so all that information can get funneled back. But we've got lots of advisors where they might say, I love everything that Katie's doing, except I don't want to use the interactive checklist. I'm going to use a PDF version. I'm going to email that to the client, or I'm going to invite them in and we're going to have that conversation in person. Personal preference. It depends on what the advisor feels comfortable with. It depends on your client base.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally cool. And I mean, I default to the interactive checklist even when I was with somebody in the office, just because I wanted it to upload it to the CRM for me. Mm-hmm. And that could just be being lazy or being, I mean, it was a convenience factor for me. I mean, I didn't mind pulling it up in front of the client. There's no, personally identifiable information in there. So for me, it was just the easy thing to do, and it would store it to the CRM for me.
Right. And just kind of building on that, there are some where that's exactly what they do. They're using it more or less as a note template for themselves to kind of guide that conversation, but then they're cleaning it up a bit. And when they're done, they're hitting the export as a PDF. And now they get a nice clean report that they're emailing back to their client and just say, hey, look, here's a summary of what we've talked about, just so you have it for your records.
Exactly. I think for me, it's just reducing that time, toggling back and forth between stuff, the admin tasks. Those are the things that I don't want to spend time on. And that's what it's reducing for me.
Right. Right. And it's like you kind of highlight a couple of things over here, but where kind of wearing my advisor hat, I have two different kinds of conversations with clients. I have the educational conversation that's more or less, let me just, I need to educate my client about a strategy or about the benefits of doing something or the rules. And then there is we need to have the personal conversation to understand how all of these rules actually apply to your personal situation. And so fpPathfinder comes in to help with that I want to say like the generic educational aspect, but it sets the stage. And then so you don't have to have that same conversation going through time and time again. You're able to then focus and say, look, after you complete this, whether it's in person or PDF or interactive, we can spend the bulk of our time going into how all of this actually applies to you and your situation.
Yeah. So more so than anything, what I hope I have said that about 50 things today, but really this process is the more I can make it, a redirect of information. So once you finish this, we're now moving on to this. Okay, great. Now we're automatically going to move on to this. So the more I can keep that wheel spinning, the more I can keep that ball rolling, the quicker the process is and the easier it is for clients because it's fresh in their head. We've just talked about all this stuff. They remember what those considerations were and why they're doing this. So we're rolling right into that questionnaire. We want to keep it going. And I think that when you put these tools together and you put them together in the right order, it really does produce a good logical flow for the client. Let's identify the need. Do you have a need for this? Is there an issue? And great, let's figure out, I'm going to give you these helpful things. What do you want to move forward with? If you're confused, it really is pretty apparent once you start with this. They'll figure out what they need. It's black and white. From there, great. Let's start gathering this information. And then this is for advisors. This is like the meat and potatoes of it. And it's what are the assets held away? Who are they talking about? These are the really invaluable things that you're going to get from estate planning. You're going to hear these intimate details about the people in their lives, and you're quickly going to be able to sort out who's a potential qualified lead for you. Who else do you want to have in your book of business? This is such a great tool for that. But those assets held away, how many times does a client come to you and they've done one of these intakes and you realize, oh my gosh, a year into working with them, but they didn't tell me about this. And now you're redoing something in their financial plan because you've got this new bit of information. But with estate planning, and especially if you consider maybe leading with estate planning, onboarding with estate planning, implementing it into your onboarding processes, this alleviates a lot of that. And you're not redoing paperwork again. You're not updating beneficiary designations and account ownership again. Because you've got this process in place and you're just constantly keeping that ball rolling. And now you've got all the pieces of the puzzle. So now you really see the big picture.
Right.
Hey, Katie, we had a quick question that came in too. We got a couple more minutes for another question or so before we wind up, and kind of related to updating estate plans and every couple of years or when. I'll let you speak to that kind of as a thought process on the advisor's role in being there to make sure the plans stay up to date as life, health, and wealth and all these other things change, and your experience there.
So for clients that seem straightforward, or every client seems straightforward once you wrap up the estate planning process of stuff, that's the beauty of it. It's all so crystal clear. We schedule something that's 3 years in advance. It's already on the books in 3 years. And sometimes they laugh and it's like, you laugh now, but I bet you'll be calling me in between then. Because remember, anytime you have some sort of significant life change, I want you to call me. Anytime you think about making a major purchase and you're questioning, oh, how should I buy this? I want you to call me. And that, it's a constant communication. It's a good conversation starter, but for us, it's every 3 years or after major life events. I think we do a good job though of coaching clients and saying, you really need to call us. This is something that we need to talk about, death, divorce, births, relocations. That's kind of an advisor said, well, what about this other platform? They tell me if the client, is relocated and I get a notification, they're told they need to update their plan. And I'm like, wait a second, you're their advisor. Shouldn't you know if they move to another state? I would think you would know that. This is a conversation you should be having. So this is another thing to remember for annual reviews, talking about this and saying, wait a second, let's go now check this and see how this works with your estate plan.
Right. For some advisors that use client service calendars, it can be a touch point that they use. Maybe it's once a year. We have some where they're alternating it on like even years. They're going to be doing an analysis on insurance, and on odd years they're going to be doing something on the estate plan. And there's two that really stand out. It's what issue should I consider before I update my estate plan, and what issues should I consider when reviewing my estate planning documents. One goes like more technical, and if that's not really where you feel comfortable, you can just stay more high level about just reviewing the estate plan, looking mostly for like changes in those important people kinds of questions. Who's the beneficiary or a trustee, or who should be, has there been a change, like people that would be looking after the minor children if something were to happen to the client, those kinds of questions.
That's exactly why we use that one, is because it's a little bit more simple, straightforward. And that's exactly why we use that one. In that yes or no circumstance, whether they have an estate plan or not, that's why we're defaulting to that particular interactive checklist.
Yeah.
Well, this is great. Why don't we wrap up here in the last couple of minutes? Katie, if you want to share up that last slide.
I will.
For advisors that are interested in learning more about EncorEstate Plans and what we do, more specifically, and how you can think about it in your firm, we welcome you to connect with us. I think we're going to throw up in the chat a link to a more 17-minute kind of deep dive into a demo that you can kind of get a full summary of what we do and how we do it. We wanted to offer a free estate plan or a visual summary. Katie showed you what a one-page summary of an estate plan can look like. We will do that where when you upload an existing estate plan set of documents, we'll create that visual summary for you. If you're interested and there's something here to learn more about, you can go create your account for free. There's no obligation to do anything. We only get paid if we help with your clients getting their estate plans done. If you use the discount code, it's an affiliation code when you sign up in a minute or two. And you put in easy button. And the first 10 that do that, we're going to give you a free, what would normally be $150. And we extract all the information out of the document. We put it in that visual summary format. We send it back over to you. The first 10 or so that create accounts with that code, we're going to give you that. If you're after the 10, we might have something else for you. We'll reach out to you and let you know. But super simple to create an account to engage with us. If you want a demo, we have one on the website. You can watch, you can engage with our team. I think we shared in the link to book a demo if you want to learn more. Michael, throw it over to you to share kind of the last steps, next steps, if you're interested in learning more about FpPathfinder.
Yeah, we host demos on a very regular basis if you want to learn a little bit more about what we're doing. We've got two links here. I know we can't click on these at this point, so it'll come out in a follow-up email. But we do make a couple of our guides available for folks at Encore, or if you're checking this out, you can see what Katie was actually referencing over here. We make those freely available, so you can see what we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. There's a closing question too. If you can, if you have a minute here real quick, jump on that poll that we just put up. If you'd like to learn more, we can follow up to schedule something on either platform. Hopefully you found this helpful, but give us feedback there. We want to continue both Encore and fpPathfinder to bring valuable content to these conversations. And so give us your feedback there. We'll take it, positive and negative. And
if you have any questions for me, please ask.
Yeah, and reach out. Katie, you had her follow-up information. Katie, you put a lot of time and effort into this to really peel back how you do what you do. Super grateful to you for putting the effort in to share and help other advisors as they're thinking about this and how they would incorporate it, and the thought process behind building a process around it. And so you do a great job.
Sorry,
and I know you had a lot more shared too. Yeah, we could have
Yeah,
gone for a
yeah.
couple hours here. And so, so thank you for your efforts in doing that. You're a great partner at Encore and fpPathfinder. And so we appreciate you being willing to come and share your insights with a big group of advisors. So grateful to you. Thank you, Michael, for the time today. Love your team. Love what you guys do at fpPathfinder. And let's go and help some advisors and their clients out.
All right.
I
Thanks
love
so
it.
much, everybody. Yeah, thank you,
Thanks,
Katie.
everybody. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
y'all.